Good morning. I have started this morning with my favorite Tagore music. Uh, at one point of my life, I had started my day with the music of Tagore. I made it a daily ritual. I mean, I think creating a good mood is also important. I struggle with mood disorders and um, so much negativity is going on within ourselves and in the world. So it takes a lot of work, mental work, to remaining emotionally distant from these negativity. Because and another thing, if there is obviously negative, so um, finding the positive in the negative, like um, two important terms. One is wholehearted living, coined by Penny Brown. Um, I have read her books, and they have actually summarized what all the other um, institutions and um, things say. And another point, aggressive Roman Stoics or stoical thinking, um, or the idea of anti-fragility. Both is important. Like we need to have uh, the courage to live fully and at normal times, as well as be prepared for any kind of uncertain events and leverage it positively. I mean, finding the negative and the positive. Uh, that's what I am talking about. The idea of anti-fragility. Um it's like um, I really love the term anti-fragile. Anyways, that's a different topic I'm going into. I will start my reading. I will set my timer. Timer is on. Okay. You can also feel a surge of um, conscious attention whenever you are surprised. System 2 is activated when an event is detected um, that violates the model of the world that System 1 maintains. In that world, lambs do not jump, cats do not bark, and gorillas do not cross basketball hoops. The gorilla experiment demonstrates that some attention is needed for the surprising stimulus to be detected. Surprise then activates and orients your attention. You will stare and you will search your memory for a story that makes sense of the surprising event. System 2 is also credited with the continuous monitoring of your own behavior, the control that keeps you um, polite when you are angry and alert when you are driving at night. System 2 is mobilized to increase effort when it detects an error about to be made. Remember a time when you almost blurted out an offensive remark and note how hard you worked to restore control. In summary, most of what you restore control. In summary, most of what your system to think and do originates in your system one. But system two takes over when things get difficult and it normally has the last word. The division of labor between System 1 and System 2 is highly efficient. It minimizes effort and optimizes performance. The arrangement works well most of the time because System 1 is generally very good at what it does. Its models of familiar situations are accurate, its short-term predictions are usually accurate as well, and its initial reactions to challenges are swift and generally appropriate. System 1 has the biases, however, systematic errors that it is prone to make in specified circumstances. As we shall see, it sometimes answers easier questions than the one it was asked, and it has little understanding of logic and statistics. One further limitation of System 1 is that it cannot be turned off. If you are shown a word on the screen in a language you know, you will read it unless your attention is totally focused elsewhere. Conflict. Figure 2 is a variant of a classic experiment that produces a conflict between two systems. You should try the exercise before reading on. Your first task is to go down both columns, calling out whether each word is printed in lowercase or in uppercase. When you are done with the first task, go down both columns again, saying whether each word is printed to the left or to the right of center by saying or whispering to yourself left or right. Your first task is to go down both columns, whether each word is printed in lowercase or left lowercase, uppercase, left lowercase, right uppercase, lowercase, right uppercase, right uppercase, left lowercase, left uppercase, right lowercase, upper lower, lowercase, lower uppercase, upper lowercase, upper uppercase, lower lowercase, lower uppercase, upper. Figure 2. You are almost certainly successful in saying the correct words in both tasks, and you surely discovered that some parts of each task were much easier than others. When you identified upper and lower case, the left-handed column was easy and right-handed column caused you to slow down and perhaps to stammer or stumble. When you named the position of the words, the left-hand column was difficult and the right-hand column was much easier. This task in this system too because saying upper lower or right left is not what you routinely do when looking down a column of words. One of the things you did to set yourself for the task was to program your memory so that the relevant words upper and lower for the first task were on the tip of your tongue. The prioritization of the chosen words is effective and the mild temptation to read other words was fairly easy to resist when you went through um, the first column. But the second column was different because it contained words of which you were safe and you could not ignore them. You were mostly able to respond correctly, but overcoming the competing response was a strain and it slowed you down. You experienced a conflict between a task that down. You experienced a conflict between a task that you intended to carry out and an automatic response that interfered with it. Conflict between an automatic reaction and an intention to contention, caution to is common in our lives. We are all familiar with the experience of trying not to stare at the oddly dressed couple at the neighboring table in a restaurant. We also know what it is like to force our attention on a boring book when we constantly find ourselves returning to the point at which the reading lost its meaning. While winters are hard, many drivers have memories of their car skidding out of control on the ice and of the struggle to follow well rehearsed instructions that negate what they would naturally do. Steer into the skid, and whatever you do not touch the brakes. And every human being has had the experience of not telling someone to go to hell. One of the tasks of System 2 is to go overcome the impulses of System 1. In other words, System 2 is in charge of self control, illusions. To appreciate the autonomy of System 1 as well as the distinction between impressions and beliefs, take a good look at Figure 2, 3. And the picture is unremarkable. This is a picture of two lines, two horizontal lines of different lengths with fins appended. pointing in different directions. The bottom line is obviously longer than the one above it. That is what you all see, and we naturally believe what I see. If you have already encountered this image, however, you recognize it as the famous Muller line illusion, as you can easily confirm by measuring them with a ruler. The horizontal lines are in fact identical in length. Now, that you have measured lines, your system to the conscious being you call I have a new belief. You know that lines are equally long. If asked about their length, you will say what you know, but we still see the bottom line as longer. You have chosen to believe the measurement, but you cannot prevent system one from doing its thing. You cannot decide to see the lines as equal, although you know they are. To resist the illusion, there is only one thing that you can do. You must learn to mistrust your impatience of the length of the lines when fins are attached to them. To implement that rule, you must be able to recognize the illusory pattern and recall what you know about it. You can do this, you will never be again fooled by the Muller liar illusion, but you will see, still see one line as stronger than the other. Not all illusions are visual. Uh, I was checking the timer because yesterday I skipped the timer. Anyways, there are illusions of thought, which we call cognitive illusions. As a graduate student, I attended some courses on the art and science of psychotherapy. During one of these lectures, our of psychotherapy, during one of these lectures, our teacher imparted a morsel of clinical wisdom. This is what he told us. He will, from time to time, meet a patient who shares a disturbing tale of multiple mistakes in his previous statement. He has been seen by several clinicians and all failed him. The patient can lucidly describe how his therapist misunderstood him, but he has quickly perceived that you are different. You share the same feeling and are convinced that you understand him and will be able to help. At this point, my teacher raised his voice as he said, "Don't even think of taking on this patient. Throw him out of the office. He is most likely a psychopath and you will not be able to help him." Many years later, I learned that the teacher had warned us against psychopathic charm, and the leading authority in the study of psychopathy confirmed that the teacher's advice was sound. The analogy to the Muller liar illusion is close. What we are being taught was not how to feel about the patient. Our teacher took it for granted that the sympathy we would feel for the patient would not be under our control. It would arise from system one. Furthermore, we are not being taught to be generally suspicious of our feelings about patients. We are told strong attraction to a patient with a repeated history of failed treatment is a danger sign, like the fins on the parallel lines. It's an illusion, cognitive illusion, or I, System 2, was taught how to recognize it and advised not to believe or act on it. I don't know why my timer is not running. So I will put a marker on up to. I was struggling to find the marker. So today, Kahneman I have brought very interesting topics. One is the interrelationship between System One and System Two, like why we invoke System One and um, what is the interrelation between System 1 and System 2? I'm having trouble with the camera. Anyways, so System 1 is in charge of the automatic response. Um, it acts on impulses, mostly driven by emotions. And System 2 is like the controller. It actually um, stops us to act on the impulses. So, like if I am triggered, being verbally abused or physically abused, or some way, I mean, I am being maltreated. System one is the automatic system that responses, and system two is something that stops to make that response and kind of um, creates the distinction between like what should be the right response or right action at this moment. So this is the one idea that I have learned today by reading this book. I will explain it a little bit later. And another thing is like the Muller lion illusion, like what we see all there it is. I mean, we are always um, kind of motivated by the picture that is depicted in front of us, such as um, the story talks about a story of a psychopath. Like we all know, a blame game is a zero sum game. So if um, he talks about a patient who is a chronic complainer who goes to a um, physician and complains about all his prior physicians. So probably he will likely to be going to another one and complain about this one. So um, this is talked about as psychopathic charm, um, and the teacher talks about not to take this patient because he has never understood his problems. Rather, he is complaining about the system and complaining about um, the physician always. Um, I don't know. I mean, I have read, which I really like, the book Transactional Analysis and Eric Barnes, Games People Play. I have been reading a lot about social psychology because um, I grew up in a very different um, family environment. I mean, um, I think I have shared. I struggled with shame and guilt of like schizophrenia in my family, and um, a lot amount of I would say uh, emotional stress, and I went into depression for a long time because of that. Luckily, I'm not taking any antipsychotics right now, and I'm trying to rebuild my mental stamina um, to go back to uh, normal life. But I still don't know what is normal. I mean, um, but I'm trying to understand the concept of balance in a day's term, like one day at a time. Like, um, I think time is an important factor, and if I divide my life uh, a 24 hours time, what would be my responsibility to take care of myself, and how do I take care of people whom I who depend on me, like my family and such. So prioritizing my self-care, mental, physical, and spiritual, as well as um, um, being able to take good care of people who really depend on me. So, like the idea brought here, one is um, right action or not to react, rather respond. So I have been trying to understand and stop myself on the automatic responses. Like my brother relapsed yesterday and he started hitting me all on a sudden. And I usually I can stop myself, but yesterday I couldn't stop myself. So which induced a huge amount of guilt later. And he is sick and I'm not. But the thing is that a lot of times um, I cannot stop myself to act on my impulses, which is, I don't know, which induces a lot of guilt. Like I can go outside and talk with other people, he cannot. And another thing, I used to feel a lot of guilt because of not being able to doing enough. Like the distinction between my emotions and his emotions or other people. Like I struggle with too much empathy. Like I'm not doing enough to help him. So which induces some amount of bad feelings. So I'm trying to cultivate a healthy um, emotional detachment. So like here comes the concept of equanimity, like uh, remaining balanced internally, um, not overreacting on uh, like in a, when there is a positive thing or when there is a very negative thing. And a lot of talk is going on about inner stillness or um, remaining still inside. um, Anyways, that's a very philosophical idea and it takes a lot of time um, to practice and cultivate within. And another is Muller illusion, which is like not to believing on the surface. Like the thing, like I can recall a very recent incident. Um, I had a relative, and all on a sudden, um, I had given him a responsibility, and he wanted some financial help from me, but um, he also was not being able to talk about it openly. So what I did, um, he showed me some amount of um, disgust to the people he was working with for this favor, and it's kind of it could have asked me directly that I need some financial assistance to help you with this. But understanding this kind of social games, um, which I'm trying to do, I have, I really like the 1950s book of Eric Berne, The Games People Play, and Transactional Analysis. So the concept behind it is like every human interaction is like a transaction in accounting systems. And um, I have been observing my interactions with people. The next interaction that is coming up is kind of matches with the Barn philosophy or Barn analysis. And he has wrote this book 50 years earlier, I think 70 years earlier in 1950s, like the games, like where I am a victim or where I am a rescuer or um, where I am seeking sympathy from other people. And I don't know. I mean, but the thing is that understanding these games is helping me, and also the state of being game free, like where I can be fully vulnerable and radically honest about myself, or what I am thinking at this moment about this specific incident. So I'm really happy that um, I am able to cultivate a better awareness at this moment of the things and underlying social games. And I don't know. I mean, the thing is that um, there is another game here. He talks about the mental effort, a deliberate effort to um, play a game where the mind needs to switch context very rapidly, which is like the interaction between system 1 and system 2. Like, I was thinking about aptitude tests or difficult tests and time constraint about this. Like, um, I had put into this idea in some of the tests I have been taking a lot, and like if I can be familiar with the taste format, which is most of the time fixed, so that is inherent in my system one. So I don't need to be cautious about it anymore. So why I need to invoke the system two, which is the deliberate effort, and the taste type. Like I can be familiar with the taste type. I can be familiar with um, the question types, and as well as um, the answer like format. But the thing is that I cannot be familiar with the specific answers why I need to invoke system 2, the deliberate and effortful one, um, or the portion of mind. This is not a physical portion, this is an operation. Like human mind is the like most marvelous thing that um, mother nature has created. Like i um, I think I had read in David Eagleman's book, like doctors had um, surgically removed half portion of a patient um, mind, or like the brain, and it worked quite well. So even still right now, which portion is responsible for what operation is not yet medically fixed. So this is like an imaginary um, differentiation of the operation of mind. Like it's not a physical or physical differentiation of mind, that system 1 is here and system 2 is there. It's like um, a metaphor to explain how we perceive things as we perceive, um, and how we construct our reality within ourselves, inside our inner world, and which I'm trying to understand more um, deeply. And that's why I'm reading this book, so that I can be more aware, as well as make better decisions and choices. And like um, always invoking system 2 will be like clumsy, and my day-to-day life will be more sloth, or more um, time consuming. So it's like a trade-off between system 1 and system 2, understanding my emotions and impulses induced by them, as well as stopping myself when it's really important to stop them. So, anyways, thanks a lot for listening. Hopefully, I will come back tomorrow.